welcome back to Inspired or Acquired. This is a podcast where we interview real business owners, give them a valuation, and ask whether or not they would sell their business. We have a really interesting episode today. Hayden Slack is joining us from Fort Worth, Texas, and you're going to hear about the two businesses he's involved with in the home services space. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Clint Fiore, mergers and acquisition specialist, also out of Texas. So it's good to see both you guys. Hayden, how are you? Happy Friday.
I'm good. Yeah, happy Friday. Thanks for having me, Clint and Patrick.
Thanks for coming on. So you have a family foundation repair business, and then you also have a plumbing business. So for people who don't know, maybe just give us a little bit of background on those two businesses and what you do and how you got involved there.
Yeah, for sure. So I joke I was half conscripted into home services a decade ago. My father-in-law had a kidney transplant, and he came to my wife and I, her siblings and their spouses, and my brother-in-law's, her siblings are pastors, and so they couldn't just up and walk away from that. Their wives are stay-at-home mothers, and my wife had worked for her father for the first 6 months out of college and quit to salvage their relationship. So he was essentially asking 6 people, and everyone knew who the sucker was, and it was me. So the fall of 2014, I went part-time from the Department of Defense. And by January of 2015, my father-in-law wanted me to stay. And so we made a deal, and that has kicked off the last decade of being in this industry.
Very cool. And by trade, previously, you did what for the Department of Defense?
I was an accountant.
An accountant. Awesome.
And I wish that was a cool cover story for some clandestine ops.
No. The cool cover story is the growth the past 10 years. Tell us what's happened with the company since you joined.
Yeah. So the foundation repair business, much like the rest of the trades, is highly fragmented. I believe it is and still less sophisticated than the other trades. And so there hasn't been a secret sauce other than incremental wins and a willingness to kind of implement tech and, out-compete in a way that our mom and pop competitors haven't. So we've grown from 4.5 million across DFW and San Antonio to 30 million this year across DFW, San Antonio, Austin, and Waco, Texas. And then along the way, I started a plumbing company. And for those first few years, it got treated like a hobby. It was self-sustaining through the referral business from the foundation repair company. And over the last 2.5, 3, have tried to continue to grow it into residential service. And it'll do about $4 million in revenue this year.
Pretty
okay,
amazing.
So I have to ask, why did you start the plumbing company? Was it just synergies with the foundation repair, or was there some sort of like family dynamic playing in, saying, you know what, I want a business of my own, not just to be working for dad's business? Or did any of that come into play in your thought process, or why'd you start a second company?
Yeah, I wish I could take credit for it being a much longer, well thought out idea. There certainly was kind of the kernel of those thoughts of, I want to start something else that's mine. So I've got some equity in something. But the real boots on the ground reality is we kept getting complaints about plumbers, the ones we were working with. And it was either they couldn't keep up with our volume as we grew. They provided terrible customer service, or one that at the time, in ignorance, I believed, but being on the other side of it, it was really just the plumbers weren't educated in building value around what they were selling. Customers would complain of price gouging. So I was working with a local plumber, and he started selling the opportunities to another plumbing company that we were giving up. And I called that plumber, told him, hey, this isn't going to work. He fired an employee of his that was dedicated to us, gave him my cell phone number. I'm 27 at the time, 28. This 19-year-old calls me, chews me out. By the end of the conversation, I've convinced him, like, look, I was just taking care of my people and my business and my customers. And in a momentary fit of frustration, I go, look, I may just do this on my own. If you know a master plumber, have him call me. And so that night, a master plumber calls me, early 40s, sole custody of 3 sons under the age of 5. We made it a Starbucks for 45 minutes, and I walk away going, I'm not ready. I don't know enough about this business. Well, 2 weeks later, the Monday after Thanksgiving, he called me and said, hey, I quit my job. When are we starting? And I don't know if it was codependency or what. I was like, I guess tomorrow. We're starting tomorrow. And so we winged it. And you can't get to know someone in 45 minutes at a Starbucks, and his personal life was a disaster. And so within 8 months, the team has rebooted. But I'm super patient and have a high tolerance for pain. So we just kept going and learned most things the hard way, and then managed to keep it alive for 8 years and grow a little. So that's how I started. Next.
You accidentally start this plumbing company. The master plumber says, hey, I quit my job. We're doing this. And you just roll with it.
Yeah.
And now it's become a nice little business. What's the name of the plumbing company?
Service Squad Plumbing.
Service Squad Plumbing. And are you what markets are you in? Are you in the same ones as a foundation repair, or just limited to
no? So for residential service, Service Squad covers all of Tarrant County and a little bit into Parker County west of the Metroplex. But for the plumbing testing, it essentially matches GL Hunt's service area. So it's got a 65-mile radius all around DFW for that specific portion of the business. If someone calls for a faucet or fixture call, we're not going to drive to the other side of the Metroplex for that, of course.
So at what point did you and your father reach an agreement that he was going to sell to you? Was that recently? Because I know you're on the verge of closing that deal as we speak, but like, was it a foregone conclusion for the past 10 years, or is it something? I remember we met 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We hung out together, and it seemed like this has been in the works for a while, but it wasn't a slam dunk, right? Like
I think the topic first got broached in 2018. And at the time, it wasn't necessarily, I want to buy you out. I was working with a consultant out of South Lake who was like, look, you have to get a transition plan in place. And you've already built a decent amount of value. You should push for some kind of earn out. So, it's essentially a 6-year process. Nathan Linehan on Twitter described my situation as it's an off-market deal. That's also a family deal, because you have to educate the seller on all the things that you would an off-market deal, plus deal with the dynamics of the family. Because when it comes to business acquisitions or selling a business or valuing a business, none of that is anything he ever worried about.
Yeah, I just this year concluded the buyout of my mom from our family business, and that was a 5-year painful process for our family. And yeah, I think it's the hardest deal I've ever had to do was doing my own family's business deal, even though this is what I do for a living. Yeah. There's no getting around the emotions of it, the family dynamics and things. And so was having this plumbing company that was yours, did that give you some, I don't know, did that ease the negotiations a little bit for you? Like, I want to buy my dad's business, but if we don't figure it out, at least I have my other growing business over here.
Yeah, for sure. It was a safety net for myself.
Yeah.
If it didn't work out. But after a decade of building a business and a leadership team, it's like, I can't afford to bring them all with me. This is the horse I'm riding. I need to get this done because these people that I work with every day are relying on to do it.
Yeah. And what was the turning point where in this conversation with your family, with your dad, that it became clear that this was really going to happen, that he's going to sell it to you? When did that happen, and what did that look like?
I don't think there's a clear line. It's just been 3 or 4 years of constantly and diplomatically pushing towards a resolution. The thing about family business is someone has to value the relationship more than the money, or it doesn't work. And just growing up, we had some terrible family dynamics over inheritance, over what is almost nothing, in the grand scheme of things. And so as I realized I was going down this path, I just took a stance of the only outcome I must avoid is having just like a family grenade go off. It doesn't matter about the terms as much as can we get this deal done and still have Thanksgiving dinner on the other side of it. And that's not easy.
Hey guys, wanted to take a quick break from the show just to tell you about our companies for a second. I'm Patrick Dichter and I own Apple Tree Business Services. We do quality accounting and tax nationwide. So if you're running a business or looking to buy a business, we'd love to help you out with accounting and tax services. You can find us at appletreebusiness.com. And Clint, tell us about Bison Business.
Yeah, Bison Business is my firm. We do nationwide M&A. So we help people buy and sell companies. Most of our customers have companies in the 1 to 20 million revenue range, profitable businesses. So if you've got one and you're ready to get acquired, you can reach out to us at bisonbusiness.com for a complimentary valuation. We can get you to market and get you sold. If you're a listener that's a buyer that wants to buy a company that size, make sure you're on our email list because we'll send you out deals first before they hit the market anywhere else. But we'd love to serve you anytime you're thinking of acquiring or selling your business. We want to be your first stop at Bison Business.
Awesome. Now back to the show.
How did y'all approach valuation? We don't have to talk about the terms and the price of the deal with your family business. That's y'all's private business. We talked a little bit about it beforehand, but I know with our family, it was kind of weird because here I am like a valuation expert, but it was half owned by my uncle. And so it was like, there was a little bit of an adversarial dynamic of, we're trying to buy it and he thinks, if you're trying to buy it, you're going to try to buy it for the cheapest price.
Yeah.
And he obviously is like any other business owner and wants fair value and usually overestimates the value. And so it was hard for me to have credibility as a valuator as the buyer, on the deal. So like, did y'all bring a third party to help walk through that conversation or did he just name a price and you did the math and saw if it worked for you, or how'd you approach it?
Well, yeah, I mean, comments towards hard to have credibility. What is that verse? No man is a prophet in his own household.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we've had valuations done. I spent 16 months working with this outfit called the Rainier Group that handles kind of the governance around family succession plans. And we had better plans done, but they were far more complex. There was layers of trusts, and my father-in-law just didn't like that. He's old school. If he can't explain it, he doesn't want to do it. And so we ultimately just settled on, here's the most that I can pay you that the business is going to support in a fashion in which the bank is willing to lend us the money for your first liquidity event and a seller note on the back end. And we're all going to operate under the understanding that there, to some extent, is a sacrifice in purchase price because you want this to stay in the family. And we could call a big group and get more money, but that's not necessarily the target we're going after, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. You can only pay what you can pay with the banking ability that you have and that the business can support. And there's other, deeper pocketed buyers or strategics out there that they have different capital structures and synergies that you don't have, and they might be able to overpay. They might be able to pay more. But it still seems like y'all have, a pretty reasonable valuation from what I know about it, from our discussion. So it sounds like he did the right thing and that he was pragmatic and good enough price to let it go, keep it in the family, and be fair to all the family members involved. I want to call an audible here, Patrick, and the show is usually about we value someone's business and see if we can tempt you to sell it. But you're on the verge of closing this deal right now, which is you're buying your larger, foundation repair business from your father-in-law, and you already have a price on that. But I want to change it to say, I want to try to tempt you to sell the plumbing company, or at least the residential service aspect of your plumbing company. So let me play devil's advocate here and just set the stage. You got involved 10 years ago in the foundation repair business. It was doing $4 million of revenue. It's now doing over $30 million of revenue. It's the big dog of these two businesses. You're on the 11th hour, the goal line of closing it, and taking out this loan and this note to the seller note and becoming the owner of this bigger company that's almost 10 times bigger than your plumbing company. And I know there's synergies, but what if you just took the plumbing aspects that are synergistic with the foundation business and just in-housed them in the foundation business, and you got rid of, going to Mr. and Mrs. Smith's house to fix a faucet and doing all that, because you've built up over the last 6 years a business that I think is sellable on its own as a residential service company. And then let's just focus on the foundation repair and only the plumbing that goes along with it, and just have employees at your foundation repair business that do that aspect and split that off. And, I don't know how much of the $4 million of revenue from the plumbing company is related to foundation repair versus just outside servicing customers.
Roughly half at this point.
Okay.
We'll leave that out of the sim. We'll say none of it. So.
None. It's a waste of time.
So let's pretend we can chop this business in half, take your specialists to the foundation repair business and just absorb them into the bigger company. And then let's say that leaves you with about a $2 million revenue, couple $100,000 of EBITDA or discretionary earnings plumbing company. That's still sellable. Like, I think that might trade for 500 to $1 million, like somewhere in there of valuation. And, we'd have to take a closer look at it. But let's just pretend 800,000 is the number. And I say, man, wouldn't it be nice to have a little bit of cash in your pocket to show for the work you did on this, and then just let you totally focus on foundation repair and have a liquidity event, and let someone else that's really into residential service and the plumbing company, let them, take the handoff on that, take that brand and run with it. And that could be, a nice little windfall for you and your family. Is that tempting to you at this point, or is that out of the picture?
Oh, I think it'd be tempting to my wife, because I wouldn't turn completely gray as fast as I'm currently turning gray. But at the moment, I still feel like I've got the energy. I don't know about the attention, the energy to keep trying to chase both. And oddly enough, I don't particularly care about the widgets. Like, I'm not passionate about foundation repair or plumbing. I'm passionate about working with the plumbers. Like, the first 15 minutes of my morning, standing in the yard is the best part of my day, because they're absolutely wild. And I'm like, you can't say those things in that building. Please stay out here. Don't talk like that. But it's the building something that I really like. That it was just an idea, or in some cases an accident, and you looked up 5 years later after daily consistent effort, you're like, holy crap, how is this real? That's the part I like about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'll always be chasing, to some extent, what's that next new thing that I can just work on.
So what do
Even
you
if I still,
have your sights on now? If you've got a $30 million foundation repair business and a 4.5 million revenue plumbing business, like where do you want to
I
go in the next
think
5 or 10 years?
probably wrongly so, I want to chase the shiny HVAC object. Because that just seems like what everyone in home services does. You end up trying to grow plumbing and then realize I can have a comfort advisor that sells $3 to $4 million a year, and that's going to take you 8 plumbers. And so there's just far more juice per the squeeze. But you have to deal with a much more extreme seasonal pattern. But I'm pretty much used to that with the foundation repair business at this point. It's super seasonal.
And is there synergy with foundation repair, or you're just like, okay,
No, it would go under, so it would fall into service squad, and I would just drop the plumbing, or it'd be HVAC plumbing.
so you say, okay, can I get service squad from 4.5 million to maybe 10 million in revenue over the next few years?
Yeah.
Would you do that with adding HVAC and doing that organically, or are you looking at doing acquisitions?
At this point, I'd prefer to do it through acquisitions, just because it's faster, or in theory, it's faster.
I like the name Service Squad. I think it fits, any of those home services, and just wouldn't require any major rebrands.
Yeah.
So you've heard it here first, people. You got an HVAC business, and what cities are you looking in? You want DFW?
Yeah, DFW.
All right, give Hayden a call if you got an HVAC company in DFW that could join the Service Squad empire. So you're building this up. You're 4.5 million. You're thinking, let's get it to 10. Let's add HVAC. Let's keep growing the plumbing, and getting people's homes. How does that impact what you're doing on the foundation repair side? Are you going to need another leader to lead up one of these efforts or the other, or are you going to be able to lead both?
I'm sure. Sure. One of the biggest unlocks this year was I just out of sheer luck stumbled upon a sales manager, and I track down all the leaders for the businesses, but I don't like doing job listings. I like to hunt people rather than fish. And so I was using ZipRecruiter. They got a resume database. Just hit on a guy that had recently left the single largest foundation repair company in the nation. And he's brought just a level of not only professionalism, but like sales awareness and coaching that has been just a game changer for us. And being honest, I had almost got to the point in the hiring where I was like, I just don't think I'm going to find a game changer. I'm going to find a lot of people that'll work hard, but I'm still going to be pulling this sled. And with the addition of that guy, it has kind of renewed my faith in that you are one person away from changing your business if you find the right person.
How long has he been with you?
6 months.
And how many other salespeople are there?
There is 24 salespeople.
Wow.
Give me some tactics. Like what does he do? Is it like the way he connects with homeowners and coaches your reps how to ask questions? Or
it's the formal process, which is not terribly different than what you might find in a lot of home service companies. But it's really his ability to connect with the team, get them to trust him so that when it's time to hold people accountable, they're willing to go, look, you're right. I'm not doing as well as I could, and more is possible. And I'm willing to push myself in a way that we haven't really had the guys do in the past. I mean, our journey from 4.5 to 30 has been a function of ever increasing at bats. Not that we got better at hitting the ball. And we're
Just
at the phase where
getting more leads, not necessarily getting
we
better
went
at
from
closing
like,
or average ticket.
yeah, like 900 leads that first year to 10,000 this year.
How
we're
many
finally-
people need foundation repairs? Like this is
Not enough.
this is blowing my mind. Is it? I mean, $30 million of sales in just this handful of markets in this niche service of foundation repair seems like a pretty monster little medium-sized business to me. Like how much
for
market
the
share
industry,
is there?
Yeah, for the industry, I think the $30-ish million in Texas puts us in the top 2 or 3.
Yeah.
The second you leave Texas and enter kind of basement repair, that's no longer the case. You've got some legitimately monster-sized companies doing $150, $190 million at far larger tickets and much more sophisticated than the Texas market.
So if you stay in Texas and do foundation repair, but your guy that's been there 6 months starts doing better and better recruiting, and your sales staff goes from 24 or 23 to 40, and can you get, is 50 million, 100 million attainable in these markets in Texas?
Yeah, I think 50 and 60 is attainable. For us to get to 60, we would need to like increase our lead volume annually by like 40% and then raise our average dollars per lead like 36% or something like that.
Hmm. This is all exciting stuff. Like when I imagine, you getting the foundation repair business pushing that 50, 60, and then getting the plumbing and HVAC pushing 10, like what's the goal here? Like, do you have an end game in mind? Is this, let's build these up and sell them and have a big payday one day? Or, you're, what are you, late 30s? Like what's
30. I'm about to turn 38.
38. Okay. So what's your vision here? Do you have, going to do this forever or do you have an exit plan in mind?
I don't have an exit plan in mind. The part of business I like is the problem solving. What do we do next? How can we get better at this? And not necessarily the messy people side of it. I will deal with it because it's a necessity, but it's not my favorite. So to grow to a place where I've got people handling all that and I just get to be your backup. If you need help, call me. No work, sir. And where are we going? What's next? I'd like to have enough time and enough resources to go buy some land and drag my boys out there and shoot stuff.
Mm-hmm. How old are your boys?
13 and 10. Yeah.
Great.
So I don't have much time left with the oldest one.
Yeah. Now's the time to get out there and shoot stuff.
It is. It is.
Do you feel like you're the guy, the leader to take it from 30 to 50?
I don't know. And I've told the team that when we do like our offsites is it's a fear of mine. Am I the right person that can do it? And I don't know when you know that or don't know it, but I hope that when the day comes, it's relatively clear that like it's time to replace myself. I'm in over my head.
What's the leadership team look like now? You've got a sales leader. Do you have like
I've got a
CFO or CMO or like a head of people or anything like that?
Not head of people. I've got a CFO, a marketing director, a sales director, and then an ops director.
And what about the plumbing company? Is there like a foreman or leader in the plumbing company?
Yeah, we've got a service/ops manager, and then 2 office staff, and 1 CSR out of the Philippines. So it's super lean. The plumbing company is super lean.
Yeah. I'm not sure what to ask next, Patrick. I think this
Why isn't the plumbing company more profitable? Like 10% EBITDA margin, right? Like what?
Yeah, it's it's our fault. There's no doubt about it. The majority of
like
the
you don't
jobs,
have marketing cost, right? You keep it lean.
Yeah, the majority of the jobs are sewer repair jobs, and they're really the can be the biggest jobs in home services, like a ranch style home that's 40 years old. They're real long, single story or wide, might have 120 feet of sewer. That can be an $80,000 job. But we don't get many of those.
Mm-hmm.
And if you misbid those jobs, you just get in trouble real quick because the excavation is expensive.
Got it. It's interesting. The HVAC, if you were to go think of your buy box for HVAC, like what's the, I don't know, revenue, EBITDA, team size that would feel like a fit for that buy box?
Yeah, under $5 million. There'd be some immediate cost savings around staff because I've got an accounting department that will take over the accounting. I've got a marketing team that will take over the marketing. And with the way things are going, the call center is going to disappear almost entirely in the next 18 months or 2 years. It'll just be AI voice answering and booking all of our calls. So it's really sub $5 million organization that's got a couple of good techs and a good reputation. And then make the brand transition over a few years.
So anywhere from like, I don't know, $2 to $5 million purchase price, probably.
Yeah.
I feel like we bookmark this episode and come back in a couple of years and you will be, combined between all the companies, Hayden's Holdco, 60, 70.
Hayden's Holdco. Yeah.
60, 70 million.
It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna find you an HVAC company or two as well to sell you.
Awesome.
We'll get together on that.
Maybe I'll get so big Patrick can just move down here.
Sign me up.
Sign me up. It's too cold up there.
I mean, it's amazing just to see the trajectory of like what you've done. And I'm sure it might feel like a straight line as we record this, but do you remember like what some of the big ahas or breakthroughs were? How you got from 5 to 10 or 10 to 20, or what were the big unlocks along the way?
I think some of them have to do with, there's aspects of kind of the life cycle of business and its growth and where you don't make decisions that you otherwise would because of fear. So you're running a company that's got 4 salesmen. You tell yourself the story that, look, if I hold him accountable too much, he's gone and there goes a quarter of my revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've got to find the next guy. And so as we grew and got to 7 guys and 10 guys and 12 guys, it was like, look, you're on our bus. I need you to do it our way. And if you aren't going to make it, that was your choice. I still have 11 other people who are still out in the field. And this is going to be a short-term blip and it's not catastrophic. So kind of those power dynamics as the team size grows and the organization itself can kind of flex its muscles. And then for the foundation repair specifically, the one thing I can point to that I know we did that had the largest impact is between 2018 and 2020, we went from like unfindable in the sense of review quantity on Google to first place in every market that we're in. So we just made a concerted effort through automation and incentivizing our team that we want to review at every customer touch point. They call in and book an appointment, ask for a review. We go out and with the investment, ask for a review. We do the work, ask for a review. And at this point, we generate 55 plus Google 5-star Google reviews a week. And it's kind of a cheat code for us. So, when we launched Waco, we had no visible presence. Spun up a Google business profile, started pushing reviews there, and we're like 2 weeks away from having more reviews in Waco than any other competitor, and we'll have been there for 60 days.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's a serious moat. So 2 big things like that performance culture and holding people accountable and having everybody step up their game, not being afraid to lose people. Yeah. And then just your digital marketing and really learning how to get a ton of Google reviews at every touch.
Yeah.
Those are good
The
lessons.
rest of it is just the blocking and tackling you got to do every day consistently.
My last question is just like, what's your day-to-day look like in a typical week? Are you department meetings? Are you in the field? Are you like
no, I'm in front
recruiting?
of
What
my
are you doing?
computer. I'm in front of my computer. Mondays, I'm reviewing last week's numbers. That's probably the morning. By the afternoon, I'm just available if needed. Tuesdays are L10 meeting in the morning. And Thursdays are my meeting with the plumbers. The rest of that time is either interviews, because I'll still interview sales staff or licensed plumbers. And then just the random, someone's got a fire and they're not willing to make the call, so they come to me to co-sign.
I have a question.
Fire away.
How do you stay so jacked while running two companies?
Stop it, Clint.
Being a dad. I thought you were like literally lifting the foundations.
Are you digging trenches? What is going on over there?
I thought you were doing the foundation lifting.
Yes, I just get out there and squat in these houses now.
Yeah. Now that you said
I'm just coasting on past efforts, Clint. Someday it's going to catch up to me.
For those listening in, you can't appreciate, but watch on YouTube. Hayden's jacked.
Yes. Great.
Well, cool, man. Well, appreciate you being on here. I'm ready to mark this as in the inspired column. You know, he's not looking to sell, but he understands accounting. He understands valuation. He's worked through this with his family. He knows, you know, the fundamentals of growing businesses that you never want to sell, but you could if you had to. And so he's going to have two kind of independently valuable businesses. The only pointer I think Patrick and I need to just make sure you're staying sharp on is that accounting on that plumbing company, making sure that you really cleanly separate out the related party transactions with the foundation repair, so that if you ever did want to say, you know what, this is, I am ready to sell off the home services, and like that's going to be, any acquirer is going to want that to be crystal clear as to, hey, if I don't have this foundation repair business, this huge one, driving business to these businesses anymore after I buy it, what's my financials going to look like? You need to have that answer on lock, you know, and so that's going to support your value on the plumbing and HVAC services business. So as long as you're doing that, I think you're going to have, two really strong, very valuable businesses here that can enjoy synergies together as long as you're comfortable, growing both. But if you ever want to focus on one, holler at your boy, because I know this is a great sector to sell into. There's so much M&A activity in plumbing and HVAC, home services. So really admire you and what you're building on both sides.
Appreciate it.
Glad to be your friend, man. Glad to know you, and really appreciate you being honest and transparent here on the show with us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So we will we'll put a link in the show notes. Where should people connect with you if they want to holler at you? On Twitter?
Just find me on Twitter.
All right, we'll do that. Have a great weekend. Thank you for coming on, Hayden. We'll see you.
You too. Talk to you later.